My name is Victor Dwyer, and this is the story of my life. It all started on March 12, 2001, when I was born. I had two amazing parents that were ready to love me in every way. My entire family was excited because I was the first grandchild and the first great-grandchild. When I was a baby, I had a lot of great toys to play with that I still remember, but unfortunately, I spit up on them a lot. I can't imagine why, as my dad would bounce me up and down all the time. He would always make me laugh when he would blow raspberries on my stomach and turn his hand into a spider to surprise me. Soon after learning to crawl, I quickly learned how to stand and eventually start walking, and after that, I couldn't be stopped. I grew up quick, and when I was little, I went to my grandma's Austin house where a lot of my family showed up. And I really loved cake, to everyone's surprise. Even to this day, I still can't believe this little guy is me. It feels surreal that I came from that small little goofball, but that is me, and I've progressed a lot. When I was little, I used to love to watch Teletubbies because of the baby son's face. And this is where I started to name my grandma Lala after the yellow Teletubby because she always loved to wear yellow. And I named my other grandma Good Mom because I was too young to pronounce grandma. So that's when I named my other grandparents Good Mom and Good Dad. So my real name is Victor Alec Dwyer V. And since there are 3 Victors alive, I needed to be called something else. And that's when my nickname was AJ, for Alec Jr. I've had a lot of great memories, but these are some of the happiest memories I had as a child. And this shows how I progressed when I was little.
Insisted upon using there he is.
Once I was 7 years old, Mama told me, go make yourself some friends or you'll be lonely. Once I was 7 years old. It was a big, big world, but we thought we were bigger, pushing each other to the limits. We were learning quicker. By 11, smoking herb and drinking burning liquor. Never rich, so we were out to make that steady figure. Once I was 11 years old, my daddy told me, go get yourself a wife or you'll be lonely. Once I was 11 years old. Always had that dream like my daddy before me. So I started writing songs, I started writing stories. Something about that glory just always seemed to bore me, cause only those I really love will ever really know me. Once I was 20 years old, my story got told. Before the morning sun when life was lonely. Once I was 20 years old. Only see my goals, I don't believe in failure, cause I know the smallest voices, they can make it major. I got my boys with me, at least those in favor. And if we don't meet before I leave, I hope I'll see you later. Once I was 20 years old, my story got told. I was writing about everything I saw before me. Once I was 20 years old. Soon we'll be 30 years old. Our songs have been sold. We've traveled around the world and we're still roaming. Soon we'll be 30 years old.
JJ high on
I'm
sugar.
still learning about life. My woman brought children for me, so I can sing them all my songs and I can tell them stories. Most of my boys are with me, some are still out seeking glory, and some I had to leave behind. My brother, I'm still sorry. Soon I'll be 60 years old. My daddy got 61. Remember life, and then your life becomes a better one. I made a man so happy when I wrote a letter once. I hope my children come and visit once or twice a month. Soon I'll be 60 years old. Will I think the world is cold, or will I have a lot of children who can warm me? Soon I'll be 60 years old. Soon I'll be 60 years old. Will I think the world is cold, or will I have a lot of children who can warm me? Soon I'll be 60 years old. Once I was 7 years old, Mama told me, go make yourself some friends or you'll be lonely. Once I was 7 years old.
Hi, sweetie.
Once I was 7 years old.
Get back. What do you think about that?
Fridge.
Okay.
Three plus two. That's a happy two. You got a long way to go.
When I was a small kid, I used to watch the best movies and shows ever. Like Finding Nemo, where I would get scared of Bruce the shark. I would wake up early in the morning and I would watch the best cartoons like SpongeBob, Avatar: The Last Airbender. All these shows have such great memories that make me feel so warm inside. I had so many fun toys that I will always remember. That amazing Ninja Turtle playset that had so many hidden buttons to play with, Star Wars Legos, Transformers, SpongeBob, and so much more. I remember when I was 7, I would blare Nickelback music with Dad in his black truck. We would listen to it at max volume and be singing on the top of our lungs. I remember when he used to bring me graham crackers every day after school. One day he forgot, and once we started listening to Nickelback again that day, I said, "I taste graham crackers!" So every day after, we started yelling that while we listened to their songs. Nickelback music will always have a special place in my heart. Sometimes after school, Dad and I would go exploring in the creek, which was the coolest thing ever when I was little. Dad and I would play this Toy Story game together, and it was always my job to press the space bar and throw grenades. It was so hard to defeat the final boss Zurg on the elevator. We tried so hard, and eventually we killed him and got so excited. Then we would play Quake and verse each other as well. Then we finally got my first dog, and we named her Sadie. I fell in love with her instantly. I would play with her every day after school. She was so important to me even at the very start. Then, my life changed forever when I had a sister. I finally had someone to pick on. I'm just kidding. But I did have someone I could always play with. I tried my hardest to be the best big brother I could be, but it wasn't easy. Riley and I had some great memories when we were little. We used to go in Mom's room and collect all her pillows and throw them all on her bed, and then we would dive in them and hide. Then I started going to Rucker Elementary School. Each part of this place brings back a lot of great memories. I made a lot of friends along the way. When I went in first grade, my teacher was Miss Kopek, and my class had a lot of great people in there. And when I finished the grade, she gave me a lot of nice things to remember her. Then in second grade, I had Miss Land, where she was always full of energy. And in third grade, I had Miss Andrews. And in fourth grade, I had Miss Owie. And you can't forget your pure excitement for the book fair, where you bought overpriced toys that you would never use. The school hasn't changed very much in all these years. This was my gym where we used to always play games. In the cafeteria, Dad would always come over for lunch and act fun and crazy like he always does. Good Mom and Good Dad would come during lunch for Grand Muffins for Grandparents' Day. Also, we had pep rallies every Friday, and whatever grade was the loudest would get the Golden Rock, since our school chant was Rucker Rocks. I remember when we went outside for recess and played wall ball. Someone would always throw the ball over the roof, but it was always fun to play. Then I played soccer, where Tommy and I would be the best players and versus everyone else and score like crazy. We had field day once a year where all the classes would go outside and play games and compete against each other, and always involve us doing crazy things. When I was in first grade, I placed my handprint on the walls and it's still there, and unfortunately my hands are the same size as they were in first grade. Then, one day, my neighbor's horses got out, and I was helping them put their horses back in, and that's when I met a person my age named Cole. And we became friends because we always used to trade Legos. I used to love assembling these enormous Star Wars Lego sets. I never even watched Star Wars, but I loved playing with their Legos. Then I got my DS, which I played games like Kirby Superstar Ultra, Transformers, Lego Star Wars, Mario Kart, and of course, PictoChat, which was the way to chat in between DS's. Then I eventually met the triplets through Cole, and they were a lot of fun. I remember going to the triplets' house every morning in the summer. I took so many funny DSi pictures at their house. They would always torture their cat Bella so much. The triplets' house has so many memories of us playing outside and doing some crazy stuff. We would go upstairs and play Call of Duty World at War on the Wii, and we used to play Raze on their computer. When my friends came over to my house, we played a lot of games on the Wii, like Lego Rock Band, where I would always play the drums, Mario Strikers Charged, Medal of Honor, Lego Indiana Jones, Wii Ski, and Alien Syndrome. We also had so many Nerf wars where there would be piles and piles of Nerf bullets. I even had the Stampede, which was an automatic Nerf gun. It was a beast. Dad built us a playhouse where Riley and I had a lot of great memories. When we went in the playhouse, we would get all of Dad's junk from the garage and make a little home inside the playhouse. There were so many fun little things inside that place. Then we would go on the playground and we would play this slide game where we would push each other down the slide. And we would have to hold on to this hose as a rope, and if you touched the ground, you would die. Our playhouse was a really fun place with a ton of memories that are unforgettable. I would also go out every Saturday morning to go play with Sadie.
And this is me and Sadie. Isn't this cute?
We would play fetch and she would always get the stick and bring it back, but she would never actually give it to you. She would just play keep away until you caught her. I will always remember playing with her because it was so much fun. Also, when I was little, I was obsessed with catching bugs. And I would climb up these trees with my flip-flops and catch bugs with my bug catcher. And I would put them all in my bug journal. It was amazing that I never got stung or bit because I would catch bugs all day and let them go. Mom and I used to go to the mall, and we went to the Lego store, which is every 9-year-old boy's dream place, where there was every Lego part you ever needed was at your fingertips. After the Lego store, we would go to the GameStop and get a DS game. Then we would get a big cookie filled with frosting, and then we would call it the Heaven Cookie. Then my mom made me, a 9-year-old, make the hardest decision I have ever made in my entire life. If I wanted a chocolate dipped cone from McDonald's or a strawberry shake from Chick-fil-A. This decision was so difficult for me and took me so much time to think about. I almost always chose Chick-fil-A because their shakes were so good, and I always wanted to go play on their playground. I also went to Cole's house all the time when he got an Xbox 360, and we would play Halo Reach every day, and he'd always get so angry because I was so much better than him. We would always play Black Ops 1, and we would play the zombie map Ascension, where we would always get to a really good high round. Cole and I had some really great memories together. We even threw him a birthday party so much because we all love Cole so much. All my friends and I would go to Cece's, and we would eat at least 10 whole pizzas and make a bone pile of all the pizza crusts. We tried to make a whole mountain of them. We used to put slushies in our water cups, and we would drink from the slushies until we felt sick. After Cece's, we would go to Strikes and play laser tag, which Dad would always cheat by blocking with his arms. Then we would go play arcade games on this one machine that would get you thousands of tickets. We would have this enormous pile of tickets on the ground, and we would feed it into the ticket machine. We even ran a supply chain where as soon as the tickets left the machine, we were putting them into the ticket counter machine where they would start counting the tickets. Once we got all the tickets counted, we would get the dumbest item ever. We got a huge stuffed mustache, a huge snake named D. Johnson, and a bowling pin named Josh. Josh wasn't too happy about the bowling pin being named after him. After we left and got into the car was the best part. Dad would be driving and he would roll down all the windows and blare music. We would be singing on the top of our lungs while the music was blaring out of the car. And we would always wave to other cars outside the window and try to get them to wave back. Once we got home, we would have a mountain of snacks waiting for us. We would go shopping at Kroger and get every single unhealthy snack in the store. These were the snacks that every teenager could dream for. After that, we would go upstairs and play Xbox. We would play Black Ops 2 Zombies and Minecraft. Then we would play Super Smash Bros. On the Wii. And I would always play Ike because he was so overpowered. Then, after the whole night, we are exhausted and we all go to bed. And when I wake up, there are just bodies everywhere on the floor. I couldn't even touch the floor without stepping on someone. Everything is an absolute mess. Trash everywhere, blankets everywhere, people everywhere, and that's what makes it awesome. The whole goal was to get it as messy as possible. Then everyone wakes up all groggy, Mom gets kolaches from the kolache factory, and then they eat, and then they all go home. Moments that I have by going to Strikes have been so amazing, and I will never forget them. When I went to Rogers, I had my first locker and my first class schedule, and it was always fun to go outside during lunch and going out on the track. In middle school, I went to Reynolds, where I rode the bus with Connor and Cole, and we did so many fun things. Our bus driver was Miss June, and she would always blame everything on Connor, and she would always make him move to the front of the bus. We liked to act so loud, and it was so much fun. I had so many great classes, and these halls have so many great memories. In the morning, Connor and I would go to the library and play checkers with chess pieces. We did a lot more dumb things like that. I remember going to the MPF in Reynolds every morning with Coach Bowman. And he would always walk into the workout room and yell, "Victor!" because he liked me so much. We worked out like crazy and I loved every part of this place. Then I started playing on my Xbox. And there were so many fun times playing with Connor, John, and so much more. Like playing World at War multiplayer. And Zombies on Noct and Doris. We played Zombies on Black Ops 2. And I would always try to get a high round on Origins. Even Dad plays Zombies with us on Farm because he didn't like the lava on Town. I remember every day in the summer, I would play in huge infected lobbies on MW3 and get so close to getting the Moab. But I always end up dying. We would always mess around with all these people in the game and sometimes get into modded lobbies. Then I started the clan Texan on Ghost, and I got so many people together to join my team. This is where I assembled my first team and I realized I like to lead a lot. Eventually I created the Texan chat on Kick where a lot of crazy things would always be sent. We aren't going to go too much farther than that. We messed around so much in these infected lobbies still. Sometimes we would get the whole lobby into an elevator just to go up and down the entire game. And having the whole lobby corner trap me so I couldn't move was great too. I would always get so close to my chem strike, but died right before I got it. There is also pulling all-nighters on games like Ark, just to get it destroyed the next day like on server 410, where Giga destroyed our entire base within minutes. Ark was definitely not an easy survival game, and having all the glitches part of the game for sure didn't help. But we still built many bases, which took hundreds of hours, just for it to be wiped a week later. But it was so fun. I miss dying in the wyvern den, just trying to get wyvern eggs. All of it was so fun. And we can't forget about GTA, where we would duplicate all our cars for money, and we would work together to kill everyone on the server.
Shall we go somewhere private?
And I remember all the great memories I had on a game as simple as Minecraft. We did a lot of things like having those huge worlds like Atlantis on Minecraft. Then moved on to Arcadia, which turned into a massive building server that was worked on for many years. We did these huge parties where there would be so many people screaming that you couldn't even understand anything. We would play custom games on Call of Duty with 16 people on gun game, and I would just knife them just to set them back to the first gun. There would be so many people on the map that you would just watch them spawn right in front of you. Man, it would be so funny to hear them get angry. My entire goal was to knife Connor and John. Playing in these lobbies were god awful, but man, that's what made it so much fun. When I got home from school and had dinner, we would all go outside and go play frisbee and ride the ripsticks. Dad would always be really slow on the ripstick, so we would always push him so he could go faster. Riley and I would go to extremes with the ripsticks, like playing ripstick soccer and ripstick basketball. After we finished, Dad and I would go sit in the back of his black truck and just talk about life. I also had a love for soccer and going Eye of the Tiger, which I would sprint past everyone and score, which was my favorite part of soccer. We traveled to a lot of amazing places, like Colorado, where every year we would go to the same great house. While I was there, I got to snowboard a lot too. Like, this was my first time that I went snowboarding, and I instantly loved it. But I got cocky and I went really fast, and I ended up breaking my collarbone. What a classic move by me. But when I turned 15, something big changed inside of me. I started to get serious with my life, and I had this huge urge to work toward a goal. I would go outside at night and try so hard to find something to create. I needed something to work toward, and all I found was nothing. And it was killing me from the inside. This urge to work was becoming unbearable. I had to let it out on something. So I started researching the brain because I was always fascinated on how it worked. Then I stumbled on this neurological condition called tic syndrome, where a person's brain will not let a person have control of their own body. That's when I started calling my drive a tic, because I have this enormous drive to succeed, and it makes it where I have to keep working. It was killing me from the inside, because my brain was only satisfied when it was occupied. When I stopped working, that's when my brain went into chaos, and I would have hundreds of thoughts. Like, why would you stop working? Where do you think you'll end up? You need to find more answers. You're not giving up, get back to work. So the only way I could silence these thoughts was to work. And that's the only way I could establish peace in my brain. Those thoughts that were inside my head is what I call my tic, because they are involuntary thoughts that keep me working no matter what I do. Working made me feel amazing. It made me feel like I was progressing, and everything in my head would be so peaceful. If I spent a whole day out of friends, at the end of the day, I would get into bed, and once my brain wasn't occupied, the tic thoughts would come back and say, what a waste of a day, there's so much more you can do for your future. I would never get any sleep because both sides of me would keep arguing with each other. My teenager side would say, go make friends and make memories. And the future side of me would say, build a future worth living. I tried so hard to find a solution, but I could never find it, and these thoughts would leave me awake for 3 to 4 hours at a time. So I had to start taking sleeping pills so I could finally hang out with my friends and not get angry every night for not working. This solved most of my problems, but I still had to avoid going crazy during the day. So I started studying the brain to keep the thoughts silent. And as I researched, I began to love neurology. I was motivated when I had no goal, but when I found something I enjoyed, I poured every ounce of sweat into it. I eventually completed the neurobiology course at Harvard and passed all the exams in my dad's name, because I wasn't old enough to take the exams yet, because I was only 15. I constantly read neurology books, because I kept wanting to learn more and more. Everything about the brain amazed me, and as I learned, I made a 50-page neurology document about everything I was learning about. Then I started getting into consciousness, and how amazing it was that a person can feel like they're alive, even though they are just a bag of chemicals. I had so many questions about how memories are formed and how the hippocampus worked, so I got whiteboards to plan out and think and plot how the brain works, because I enjoyed thinking about it so much. Then I wanted to show how amazing neurology was, so I made my first video using Bitable. This is how my video editing started, but I wasn't going to stop there. I wanted everyone to know about this, so I taught myself how to code HTML, and I made a new HTML site called Neurons Matter. Then I created my first logo for the website, and this is where I first learned about graphic design. I continued to learn and ask questions about the brain, because I love thinking about the philosophical part of the brain, like consciousness, and the question of free will. Once I learned WordPress, I remade Neurons Matter into a new WordPress site. Then I started writing neurology blogs, but I wanted more traffic coming to my site. So I started researching how I could market my website, but there was no easy way to gain lots of traffic. This is where I started seeing the value of marketing. As I was looking into marketing methods, my friend Noah in math class was telling me about a social media business, and it started to make me think. I started to plan on my whiteboards about how I could start a marketing business, and I saw everything there is to marketing. There's websites, SEO, social media, e-commerce, and so much more. I didn't want just a social media business. I wanted to have a marketing business that did everything, and that business would be called Dwyer Enterprises. This idea of a business felt so good to me. I immediately started to make an HTML website of Dwyer Enterprises, and then eventually I started making a marketing video for my business. Once I found out all there is to marketing, I knew I needed to find an internship at a marketing firm to learn all these other parts. As I was searching for internships, Miss Smith mentioned something about the school internship program, so she let me out of her class to go talk to this one teacher called Mr. Delano. And when I first met him, I was eager to get an internship, but he thought I was too aggressive and impatient for the internship, so he denied me from the program. But that didn't stop me. I came back 7 more times, and he denied me every single time I came. But I was determined, so I went out to find an internship on my own. I called 14 different marketing firms, and they all denied me, until the very last call agreed to interview me. So I decided to go tell Mr. Delano that I got an interview with this internship. That business that said yes to me happened to be the same business he used to send his interns to. So I would be taking the only internship slot for that business, so he had to accept me into the program. But he gave me many more difficult tasks, like making Miss Woody accept me within 1 month to prevent me from joining the program. After I completed all the tasks he threw at me, he told me that there was no way I could have completed all those tasks by chance. It would have had to have been fate. So finally, he accepted me into the internship program. So at 15, I interned at Blue Matrix Media, where I learned how to edit WordPress themes. And I started creating WordPress websites for clients, like The Cell and Frisco Diner. As soon as I learned WordPress, I remade the Dwyer Enterprise site in WordPress. And I learned to Photoshop by creating these brochures and posters for my business. Once I made dwyerenterprises.org, I wanted to bring traffic to my website, so I needed to learn search engine optimization next, also known as SEO. That's when Blue Matrix merged with companies with Bill, and he taught me everything there is with SEO. At 16, I was doing SEO for large clients, but Bill also gave me a lot of tedious work. So I taught myself how to make these bots that would automate my job, so I didn't need to do tedious work anymore. I could do 2 weeks of work in a day now. I also noticed that I really enjoy writing bots that work for me. Mr. Delano and I eventually became good friends as I updated him with the progress on my internships. So one day he mentioned an opportunity for an internship at an Amazon consulting company called Prime Guidance. And I took the opportunity and I became a member of Prime Guidance. And I joined a team of consultants that were extremely smart. I took all my knowledge of the marketing firms and added a lot of value to Prime Guidance by making them a new website and doing the SEO. I started to learn a ton about Amazon and all the pieces that need to fit together. The consultants gave me a lot of Amazon work. So at 17, I started doing Amazon product listing optimizations for multi-million-dollar clients on Amazon. In my free time, I would play VR. And I had this idea to create a gun with the VR controller. And this would make you be able to shoot with more stability in VR. So I learned Autodesk Inventor so I could eventually 3D print out my design and use it for virtual reality. The gun was designed to attach to VR controllers, where they could easily detach from the gun. I also played this game called Ark, but it had a lot of glitches. But I wanted to make it better, so I wanted to create a game and call it Dethrone. That's when I learned Unreal Engine and made some motion graphics to create a trailer for the game. This is how I learned to edit in Adobe After Effects. The first trailer I made was bad, but after a lot of feedback from my friends, and also learning video editing tricks, I finally made a really good looking trailer. Then I made a Dethrone social media. And I did something that would completely change the course of my life. I started to learn Facebook advertising for my Instagram posts. And I also learned how to optimize those ads by targeting competitors of other games. I thought and planned a lot when I made all my posts. And I strategized to get people to comment by leveraging the psychology of people. It's every teenage boy's dream to create a game. So I structured the page in a way to make their opinions matter. So that way it feels like that they are creating the game. So when they feel like they're making an impact on how the game is, they feel like the game is theirs at that point, and they feel attached to it. And when they commented, it spikes engagement, which helped gain more traffic. My strategy worked by getting almost 100 comments a post when I only had 500 followers at the time. I learned how to analyze other people and take in new strategies and implement them into my Instagram page. Dethrone was the way I learned social media optimizations. While I was carving my path, I had a lot of great memories along the way. Every year helped me become the person I am today. High school was so much fun with the pep rallies and even the blackout pep rally where all of us would act crazy and have so much fun. There would be so many things happening at once. And everyone was so hyped up. We would light up the entire arena with our phones. We will win! I believe that we will win! I believe that we will! And it would be just a whole lot of insanity when everything was going on. And Cole and I had a class together with Mr. L, and we screwed around more times than we could imagine. One day, Cole and I walked home from school to see if we could beat the bus home. And on the way, we found a bag of donuts in the parking lot and ate them on the way. Those were some of the best parking lot donuts we've ever had. And at lunch we would act so crazy and be so loud. And senior year we played Super Smash Bros. Ultimate on the Switch during Eagle Time with all my friends. And I would only win by using the most overpowered character ever, Rob, with his ultimate spin move. Then I would go to class with Mr. Rice and we would talk about the economy, then go to English with Nick with Miss Holly's class. After every test I would stack all these folders all the way to the ceiling. I always loved stacking. And I had some pretty fantastic teachers every year. These halls have some amazing memories that I will never forget. Then we had senior week where we had some of the best school days ever. We rode the slides and played Ultimate in the rain, in the mud, so we would be sliding everywhere. Then drove go-karts and played in the arcade. After senior week, we went to our graduation where I got my high school diploma, and I officially became an adult. Prosper High School is a place that will always be special in my heart, and I will continue to miss the experiences that I have had here. We expanded on going to strikes and we called it the 3 Days of Fun, which is an event that we have every summer with my friends. John would come over to Prosper and he would stay over. Crazy things would always happen, like when John and Dylan flipped the go-kart so many times. The go-kart is officially broken in now. Each day we would do something completely different. We would go to Six Flags and ride all the rides. The best ride is still the Titan because of how fast it goes. We would go swimming at Connor's house where we would play a bunch of pool games. After the swimming was over, we would try to jam all of us in the same car. It was always a great ride home. We went inside of escape rooms, Top Golf, and a lot more. Riley's birthday party would sometimes be part of the 3 Days of Fun. And every year we would get a water slide where we would all get on it. Then we would get in the pond and play volleyball. Another day we went to our traditional CCs and strikes. We did laser tag and went to the arcade and got a bunch of prizes. We also took a ton of prizes too. We were really stacked. These toys are something that we may never look at again, but it was really fun in the moment when we got them. We got a girl snake for Dee Johnson. We named her Lee Slithers, after the world-renowned Lee Withers. Also, we would go out on the lake to Sneaky Pete's, and we would go out on the jet skis. Once we got back, we would play Smash on the Switch. And after we all got into bed, John would play the classic Alive by Cruella all the time before going to sleep. These 3 days of fun were some of the best days ever. There were so many great memories that I made with these guys. They may all be dumb, but they're my dummies. The 3 days of fun is a tradition that we have every year, and I hope to keep having memories like these until the day I die. I have some amazing parents that let me host these huge events with my friends, because it would be impossible without them. A lot of traditions happen too. Mom and I started the tradition to go out to eat to a new restaurant every Thursday, which was a big step up for me since I was only eating chicken fingers at the time. The more new foods I tried, the more extreme they would get. It really opened my eyes of all the good foods to try. After the new restaurant, we would get dessert, like good old Krispy Kreme with their amazing donuts, or the classic Cherry Berry. Then on Fridays, Mom, Riley, and I would go to the Smoothie King and get a smoothie. And on Saturdays, we went out to a restaurant that we've already been to, so we would be eating out pretty often. Then on Tuesdays, we would go to Good Moms and Good Dads for dinner to talk, which was always a lot of fun. I had a lot of great memories in their house that I will miss. After Good Moms, Mom and I would go to Toastmasters to practice our public speaking abilities. And what's even better, it was inside of an IHOP. I learned to practice my public speaking inside of an IHOP. And I'm one of the few people in the world that can say that. With my public speaking, I needed to practice slowing down my thoughts, words, and my hands. It took a couple years of practice, but I eventually started to get it down. Eventually, that's where I took my Facebook advertising expertise from Dethrone to using ManyChat to leverage people from Facebook to Amazon. This is where I learned to do audience research in Facebook and make multiple ad sets to run a successful Facebook campaign. After 3 years of interning and working for free, I finally had my first job where I made $50 an hour. My hard work was starting to pay off. Then I went to a ManyChat conference, And this was the first time I went around and connected with other business people. It was not easy, but I forced myself to talk to other people, and one of them needed help with Facebook ads, so I gave her my email. And after we set up a call, and I showed her some tips about advertising ManyChat. Then she came back a couple days later and said that my advertising tips made her ads over 300% more efficient. And after that, she wanted me to work with them. And she asked, "How much do you charge?" That's when I thought, oh yeah, people get paid to do this. So I threw out $75 an hour. It was crazy. My biggest client at the time never spent more than $30 a day on Facebook. And now I was managing a Facebook account that was spending over $10,000 a day. There was definitely a lot of learning in the process, especially with automated rules and ad creation, and it was all worth it. At 18, I got my first real client for Dwyer Enterprises, and they ended up being a multi-million-dollar company. This still hasn't settled in me, that I am truly making Dwyer Enterprise a reality. My 15-year-old dream was here, and it didn't take a fancy website, a brochure, or anything. All it took was a conversation and being kind to make it happen. Then I had a conversation with my neighbor Tim Kachuriak, and about his business next after, and he ended up needing Facebook ad support. And we scheduled a call with all the executives of the company, Jeff and Greg. They ended up offering me a full-time job. And here I had to make a choice between taking the safe route with a full-time job or taking the risky route with my business. And I chose the risky route because I knew I would end up being happier with managing my own schedule and my business. So I denied the job offer, but I did offer Facebook consulting, and they liked the offer. So that's when I took all my knowledge of the Facebook ads from Barg and my presentation skills from school and Toastmasters, and started teaching Facebook advertising experts the ins and outs of Facebook ads. I was able to teach them a lot, and I started managing some of their top Facebook accounts. So at 19, I was managing and optimizing the Facebook accounts of billion-dollar nonprofit companies. Then the coronavirus hit, which was this generation's first pandemic, which completely changed the way business was done. We all had to wear masks and do this thing called social distancing, which was fine, since I only interact with my friends over FaceTime and Xbox anyway, regardless if it was a pandemic. Also, I was already working remotely, and the virus started making people buy online, which increased my business for my clients, so I ended up doing pretty well. I was with my family, and since we couldn't go out to eat anymore, we would either go outside to the campfire, where we would cook s'mores, or we would go in the hot tub, or we would watch a movie. And sometimes it would be all three options in one night. It was a lot of fun being around them. Then I got rid of my 2007 Toyota Sequoia and got my dream truck, which was a slight upgrade if I don't say so myself. It had every customization I could ever want on a truck. I also got into volleyball with Connor, and I started to really love it because it was a way to connect with a lot of people. This is where I started to become really extroverted, and I could have complete conversations with people that I have never met before. Volleyball made it where I wasn't afraid to talk to new people anymore. Connor and I would always jam out in the car and have a ton of fun. I was finally able to have fun and mess around with my friends without my tic thoughts driving me crazy. I finally made peace with my inner self. My tic no longer bothered me anymore. I started to value my experiences more than my work. And what's amazing, I was perfectly satisfied with where I was in life, and yet still motivated to keep progressing forward in it. I was able to really accept who I was as a person. The teenager side of me and the future side of me made peace with each other. I realized that the best way to have no regrets and make my future self happy was to listen to my teenager side. This is the part of me that just wants to have fun with friends and make the most memories with others. This was a big step up for me in my life. Dethrone helped me learn Facebook advertising. Neurons Matter was how I learned HTML, WordPress, and video editing. Bill was how I learned automation and SEO. Prime Guidance is how I learned Amazon. Every goal, every project has helped me develop into the person I am today. These goals are what motivated me to learn all these parts of marketing. But it's always changing, so I will always have to be on my feet and learning. And that's why marketing was definitely for me. I knew that I would start a business in the future, and I wanted to know exactly how I can market that business to become successful in the future.